Hey Zach, how's it going?
It's going good. How are you?
Good. I'm excited to do another one of these talks. And this time you chose this artist, and I love that you chose someone so different, contemporary. And I'm just really excited to hear your thoughts about her work.
Yeah, this is someone I just I think a lot of us use like Pinterest to find discover new work and stuff. And I was just like searching paintings and scrolling through and I stumbled across this piece by Michelle Lauriat. Um, and yeah, it struck me because it's not like the normal kind of paintings I'm looking at and kind of like referencing. And I thought it was really cool because like normally I'm looking at paintings and looking for like how someone how an artist like captures light and form. Um, but this one was flat and expressive with like line work and it
Mm,
kind of seemed like just like a few stamps of flat color.
yeah.
Um, Yeah, and at first I didn't really know why I liked it so much. But it's cool. We can look at it together and kind of see.
So that's interesting. Actually, can I ask, so was it something when you're searching through Pinterest? Because I think that's probably a question that a lot of people might have. It's like when you look on Pinterest, do you look for things that you gravitate towards, or do you actively look for things that might surprise you? And usually Pinterest or another, search engines will give you things that you gravitate towards, but sometimes we have to work a little bit harder to find things that, might be different from how we would normally approach things. So I think that's really cool that you brought that up. I mean, when I looked at her work, I was thinking the same. I was like, oh wow, like that's maybe not something I would stop on per se, but on further introspection, it's like there's a lot of cool things happening. I had a question in that. Now I forgot my question because I rambled on too much.
I think
But
you were starting to ask like what I look for.
yeah, yeah, I guess,
Or-
yeah, yeah. Like how often is it that you search for something that is not, that is different from what you're thinking about? And then how does that serve as an inspiration for, your current workflow or
I
change up
think
your current workflow?
yeah, I think recently I've been trying to find different and unique artwork um or even photos or like any kind
Mm,
of inspiration to kind of like push myself out of my comfort zone. I've been trying
mm-hmm,
to just
mm-hmm,
experiment more and see like
mm-hmm.
what that could lead to. Um so yeah, when I saw this I was like, oh, it's different. Like maybe there's something in there that I could be inspired by like some of the line work or something.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I think that's really cool. But yeah, I would love to just dive in and see and talk more in detail about the things that you like about this painting.
Yeah. So I did an experiment. I selected
Oh,
the
wow,
color.
that's cool.
Well, let's zoom in a little bit. Um, and then if you take the color away, um, I realized that the those like big chunks of color like really give it like structure and like some organization because this is
Mm.
like super abstract. You can't really tell what
Right,
it is.
right.
So I thought that was kind of a cool experiment.
Wait, can you linger in that just for a second? That was so cool. So you took out, you say, okay, so you took out, wait, can you toggle on and off?
Yeah.
So you took out the green, right? Is that what I'm seeing? And then
Yep.
maybe some kind of
Pink.
the pinks. Okay, so it almost becomes line work on a kind of on a white canvas with some shapes, right?
Yeah.
That looks like a snow scene now. That's kind of cool.
Yeah.
That's really cool. So why did you take out all the color?
Um, I wanted to see what it looked like without because it to me I look at it I'm like okay it looks like a couple big areas of color with like all this intricate line on top
Uh-huh.
so I wanted to just like try to separate it and see like the line.
Uh-huh.
And it was just I did that. I was like, oh, it's kind of cool without it's yeah, if you take away those big chunks of color, you just see like it becomes like super abstract and it turns into like you can't even really tell what it is almost.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's like
Definitely.
seeing how much that adds. It's so simple. I think what I'm trying to say is
Mm-hmm.
like those blo chunks of color
Mm-hmm.
are so simple, but um it adds so much. It adds like um you
It
can
connects
see
the lines and other shapes in a way, right?
yeah, yeah, finish what I'm like trying to say.
That's what
Um
I'm here for. You can finish if
thank
I
you.
can't articulate something. Now, that's a really good point, and I think that's it. It almost ties in those kind of more separate textures in a way that, I mean, I think when you turn off those modes of color, it almost, it obviously changed the value structure. It changed, the grouping of colors and everything. Um, and that was kind of a new statement in itself. But it's to me, it's so interesting how something so simple like these shapes of color can make. Ooh, Zach's doing a demo. Let's take a look at this slide. I don't know about you, curious, but if I were to first look at this painting, because we were talking off camera, how or off recording, how like I don't my brain, for example, doesn't think this way. Like I think in terms of form, so I think light and shadow. So for me to think in terms of flat shapes with lines for textures and other, smaller mark making, like flat shapes with texture. I admire a lot. Like I admire artists who can do that, and it's really cool for me. And it's something that I have a hard time if I were to, let's say, I don't know, try to replicate the style. It's something that I would definitely have a hard time doing. So I think when you actually separated that, it helped me almost deconstruct the painting even more because when I look at something like this, I'm like, whoa, my brain's like, whoa, this is cool. And then it's like, what are the let's zone in and see what the actual elements are that are like the ingredients that are making up this painting, right?
Hmm.
Yeah. But what are you doing right now? Talk me through what you're doing.
Um I was just thinking like well, something that's cool about this is you can see the steps that the artist took to kind of create this. You can see like the layers of paint.
Mm,
I wonder if first step she like put in a couple of these big areas of color and then on
mm,
top of that put in like these trees.
yeah.
Um, and then on top of that is like all the line work and the it's like kind of like calligraphy or something.
Calligraphy, yeah, it's like shapes and calligraphy. I think something that's really cool is that like the combination of line, like almost lyrical lines, is really cool with those bigger masses of shapes that you see. Like even if you zoom in on the top left area, there's those light branches that cut in to those, darker shapes. I mean, they could be the
Oh,
pattern of the
yeah.
tree, the, I don't know if she intentionally carved those out, or maybe that was like done, carved out beforehand. I don't know, but it cuts into those shapes really cool. To me, it creates the impression of branches. And but then she also overlays it with, more lines on top, whether I don't know, medium like mixed media, pencil, watercolor, some, darker, more saturated strokes and whatnot. To me, it creates that feeling of branches intertwined with each other. I think that is really cool. Like you can almost hear the crunch of the branches in a way through the way the textures and shapes are paired with each other. And even the leaves as well on the floor. Or maybe that's a river in the middle. Like
Oh,
the light spot. I don't know. You know what I
maybe.
mean? Like it looks like a reflection, kind of. To
Yeah.
me, I don't know, at least.
Yeah. And you brought up these pieces too.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I was looking at her site more, and She has different series, I think, but I just love the way my brain, I like them because like you said before, my brain would never go this. Like I would never think of doing this. I don't know, like I want to, I just my brain doesn't go there. I don't know, maybe it's just because I don't get out of my comfort zone enough. But yeah, if you zoom in, I mean, look at all those different textures, like the leaves, the almost coral-like lines,
It's cool.
lines
This
within
is
shapes.
drawn.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
I wonder, yeah, it almost looks like it's cut out and then put on top or
Oh
something. It's
yeah,
really
yeah,
cool.
yeah. Yeah, that could very well be it. But if she were here, I would love to ask her like how she made that decision because for me, I would just be paranoid. Like I would not know where to put texture, what kind of texture. Like even on that tree trunk, they're tiny dots almost stippling. And then you have swirly textures right there, but then areas of rest. And we talked about this in the last episode, right? Or maybe before. Like I think the
Mhm.
area of like a juxtaposition of rest and complexity is really important. So it's not like everywhere there's texture. It's very subtle and you can only see it actually when you zoom in. Like it's very subtle to me. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I think leaving part of the paper white
Mm-hmm.
adds so much to this because, well, one, it's it's really interesting when you can see part of the artist's process
Mm-hmm.
in an image.
Mm-hmm.
That's why it's like way less interesting to look at like a super detailed painting where like every pixel or every brushstroke is
Yeah.
just refined like everywhere.
Yeah.
'Cause
I'm
it's
the
like
same.
you're not giving the viewer anything to kind of like use their brain,
Imagine.
use their interpretation for. But here
Mm-hmm.
it's you've got like some drawn leaves where you just see the white of the paper
Mm-hmm.
behind. You see like some of the underpainting in
Mm-hmm.
areas.
Mm-hmm.
So that just adds, yeah, it adds so much. It's like an exercise to kind of it's like an exciting exercise to look at. And
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Actually, even if you go on the top there, you could see the line drawing of the leaves just a little bit more right there. Like you can see the underline drawing.
mhm.
Um, and and I think that and I think that's so cool. I was gonna jump to color, but I don't know if we're there
uh
yet. But the
yeah.
whole the greens, I just love the balance of greens because there's warms, and that's something I don't know if you tell your students. But I'm always like, don't be afraid to add reds in your greens because that just adds those subtle temperature shifts. And you can see that either in the underpainting here and then, different like linden greens and then sap greens. I just think it creates such a beautiful harmony along with the texture and
Mhm.
everything.
It's
And
like how do
actually,
you
Zach, sorry.
no, you go ahead.
No, no, no. I was gonna say something totally different. So like I was gonna jump
Okay.
from color to composition. So you go.
Okay.
My brain goes,
Yeah, I was gonna ask you about green.
yeah,
Because a lot of people struggle to paint green and usually it
it's
looks
hard.
very digital or
Yeah.
like um very like Photoshop green or like out of the tube. So balancing greens with warms is a good way to do that.
Yeah, yeah. And just a note about greens, because you and I both traditionally paint. When I paint, in plein air, I will actually my secret sauce is mixing alizarin crimson with brilliant green, or sometimes I use viridian, but sometimes it gets kind of cakey.
Mhm.
And that just gives me that brilliant green is very saturated from Winsor Newton, but then the alizarin crimson kind of mellows it down. So together, when you marbleize it, it creates this nice cacophony or marbleization of warm and cool. And then you almost, to me, get the best of both worlds. And so I do like I'll maybe either burnt sienna or yellow ochre with green, because to me, yellow ochre is an earth tone, right? So that's, just subtly and shifting those temperatures, which is I can see those subtle temperature shifts even in that painting on the left, um, from this cooler green, sometimes in the foreground, and then some yellow ochre greens, sap greens, all those little subtleties. It's like bing, 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 those temperature shifts give it depth and give it, I think, yeah, flavor, I think. Yeah.
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 Um,
How do you think of greens?
I like when you go outside and you look around, like rarely something is just like that like super saturated green.
Yeah,
Usually
rarely. Yeah. Yeah.
you're out in nature, there's so much warmth from like bounce light hitting the ground or like seeing through like I'm looking outside and
Me
there's a
too.
warm tree and then there there's a yellow tree because
Yeah.
the leaves are changed and then in front of that there's a green like pine tree and I'm just seeing like this nice vibration or like harmony of like warms and cools.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, when I'm painting green, it's definitely thinking about warms and cools and
Yeah.
what other colors you can put into that green so it's not just out of the tube.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. For sure. And I think a good note, I know we're going a little bit on a tangent and we'll come back to the painting, but even, I think these two paintings are actually beautiful on grays as well and just oh crap, I forgot my train of thought. What was I saying? This is what happens when you ad lib. Something about greens and I forgot, so we'll come back to it.
Well,
I
you
can't remember
mentioned
what my train.
gray, like if we turn these to black and white.
Yeah, let's do that. Let's do that right now. If we turn it black and white, and can we zoom out a little bit just to see if you can sense a sort of overall simplicity in the value structure? What are some things that you first note in turning it black and white? I find it
Um,
so calming to see something in black and white.
yeah. Yeah, like this one, it's kind of like, I don't know, it's kind of like that. This one I notice, and I'll zoom in a little bit because I know it's probably super tiny when people are watching.
Okay, I love what you're doing though. Can you break down a little bit what you're doing really quick? Um, why are you doing it in two values and what's the point of using like a solid brush? I know why. I want to hear you. So for people listening.
Yeah, it's if you break something down into its like simplest form, then it's like that's like step one. It's like everything is based on that. Like if we didn't have this simple value structure, like these paintings probably wouldn't be as successful.
Yeah.
But since
Yeah.
we're establishing like a pattern or some abstract just two value
Mm-hmm.
relationship,
Mm-hmm.
um, then all that detail, all the color, all the textures that we're talking about, we can appreciate all that
Yeah.
because it's
Yeah.
based on this. Um,
And and that's the secret, I think, to simplification and kind of unlocking the key to creating interesting paintings with simple value structure, but then shifting within temperatures and textures like this. She's kind of utilizing all those. I personally like to call them visual tools like texture, line, shapes, masses, edge control as well. And I think it's so cool. Like I think you really nicely simplified the overall because someone looking at this be like, what about those textures and create light on dark? But yeah, the overall value structure I think is so cool. On the left one, you can see that tree trunk is a light on dark, kind of.
mhm.
Um, and then we have these lighter, oh, you can't see my mouse, can you? But you have those, lighter, thinner tree trunks. Yeah, yeah, right there. You can read my mind, right? And then we
Yep.
have the zigzags of the trunks. Yeah, perfect. Yeah, yeah, like leading your eye. Yeah, leading your eye in. And then that light spot right there that you're pulling out earlier with the leaves. Yeah, kind of right there. I think those are all kind of nice jumpers that can lead your eye throughout the painting. And
Hmm.
speaking of jumpers, I actually took Chen Cheng Wei's workshop a while back, and that's where I
Ooh,
got the term. He's a good we should do his paintings. He's been doing some fantastic paintings lately. He'd
yeah.
be a fun one to do. I love his watercolors. Look up Chen Cheng Wei, guys. Amazing watercolorist. But I took his workshop and he was the most flamboyant, fun teacher. And one thing I remember he said was, he's from Taiwan. He said, he's like, see this right here? This is a jumper. If there was no jumper, your eye wouldn't know how to connect. But it's important to have shapes that can connect and lead your eye through. And that's one of the things I remembered a lot from the workshop. The other thing I remembered from the workshop was he'd be like, "Oh, this color's too warm? No problem. I mix blue." And he's like, "Oh, this blue too cool? No problem. I mix yellow ochre." He made it seem so simple. But yeah, the idea of having these shapes to guide your eye through, I think is a really cool concept.
Yeah, that's a great point.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, when when you were talking about these, they reminded me of Ivan Earl's stuff.
Mm,
Um, I think there's some similarities, which is pretty cool. Um, because these are a lot about, well, especially this one. You've got these like shapes with all this
yeah.
intricate texture within it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's very similar to what Ivan Earl is doing, like shape with really interesting texture within it. I mean,
Yeah.
they're done in
Yeah.
very different ways.
Right.
But yeah, it's just
But the concept is
cool.
still similar. It's like these big shapes. I mean, look at the tree trunk in the foreground. Look at that. Like those almost like a maze pattern. I don't even know what you'd call it, but super cool. And and then the bushes and stuff, like the almost kind of a diamond shaped texture. And then the way he has uses line and then stippling and then solid shapes of light on dark, dark on light. I love going back to the whole simple concept of light and dark on light. I don't know about you, but look at that. Cool. Like areas of rest again on the left, like that tree trunk. And then everywhere else, it's texture, but also there's a balance to everything, I think, as well. What do you
Mhm.
think?
Yeah. Um, yeah, without these like these dark areas where you're allowed
Right,
to
right.
rest and like this tree trunk being like more simple, that gives us space to have like all this ornate texture and stuff. Like
Yeah.
how this background is just like a simple gradient versus
Yes, yes.
um yeah, you need those areas of rest.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I think I think that's a really good lesson in itself because I think a lot of times we think that the more we put into a painting, like the more complex we make it, the better it is. And I think I had my friend told me one time, he said, and I think Edgar Payne said this too, but he said one of I'm paraphrasing, but the marks of being a good artist is knowing um where to hold restraint. And sometimes that's more important than adding more and more. And I think that's something that's always stuck with me. It's like, where can you let part of the canvas show through? Where can you hold back and let yourself say, I think that's okay where it is, and where do you need to, maybe add a little bit more and build up, a painting so that in the end there is that kind of dialogue or symphony back and forth. And I think
Mhm.
that just came to my mind about those areas of rest and texture.
Yeah,
Yeah.
especially with what we do like every day for work, like
Mm-hmm.
we might have a day or sometimes just a couple hours or um you know we always have a deadline, like we have to like do these images, so
Yeah.
um you can't paint, you can't like detail every single thing. You have to think like what's important, um like put a little bit of detail into that, and then everything else can be like pushed back and just
Yeah.
finished enough that we understand what it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
So having that deadline is actually good.
It's good, right? In a way.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we would probably overthink a lot of things and yeah, think. that happens to me all the time. It's like I'll push it to a place where I'm like, oh man, I really liked how it looked before. So I don't know if, your personal work, I always keep these layers. I paint on one layer mostly, but then I'll duplicate it so that I can see previous iterations, and 100% of the time I would say there's always something I like about the previous iteration that I want to incorporate, into the latest version that I have. So um I think for sure time restraint is definitely really important. Yeah.
I do the same thing when I'm working because I basically work as like a JPEG, just like in one layer and then
Yeah.
copy
Yeah.
and paste it like every once in a while. And then I don't
See
know
the
if
one layer people. I need to
yeah,
I can't handle the multiple layer. Maybe I think it's part of my personality as well. Like it needs, because it mimics painting on one canvas. I think that's why. Oh,
yeah.
I think there's a
You have
sound.
to
Oh, do I have to?
do you have to take your bread out?
Oh, yeah. Thanks. I'll be right back. I'll be right back. I'm gonna
Okay.
pause it really quick and I'll be right
Okay.
back.
Okay. So your bread is doing okay.
Yeah, I think it's doing okay. I've learned in bread. Sorry, guys. I just want to take off the lid. My bread's baking, of course. Um, yeah, I learned that the darker the color is for bread, the more flavor it imparts. And I used to be afraid of burning my bread, but now I realize I can leave it in the oven for quite a long time and, it to get that really dark caramel color. So yeah, there's still some while left, probably like 25 minutes or something. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So
I
yeah.
was gonna ask you because we are talking about
Yeah.
like painting and then like save painting each step as like a new layer.
Yeah.
If you like parts of what you did previously, do you like make a mask and then
Yep.
like erase out?
Yep. Exactly that.
Wow. How do we do the same thing? That's
Yeah,
crazy.
no, it's the fastest way. Yeah, no, I'll bring it. And I have like all these complex layers. So I'll group it and then I'll merge it. So I can still, if I, don't like what I did, I can go back to that group. But yeah, I will literally just make a mask and erase parts of the latest layer and then show bottoms of the other layer. So all my paintings is always a hodgepodge of it's like history. It's never just the latest, it's a hodgepodge of everything started below. But yeah, I think we're pretty similar that way.
Mhm. And
Yeah.
what I tell people who use like a lot of layers, I'm like every time you have to go find a layer
Oh gosh.
or you have to like use a new tool or like mess around with this junk or every time you do that, you're switching from painting with the right side of your brain to then
That's a
switching
good
to the left
point.
side of your brain.
Oh, that's interesting. I never thought of that, but I feel it, and that's why it's frustrating. That's
Yeah.
why I don't do it. Yeah, that's definitely because you're something like, oh, where is it? It just drives me nuts. Like I don't want to find, I have no patience for that. And I think because we come from traditional backgrounds as well, and we're fast, like I can problem solve how to fix this by painting then going to the layer and like cut into shapes, add shapes, change the value. It's so much faster for me to do that than finding that layer and then fixing that. So yeah, that's a really good point. You're switching from different brains. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good exercise in itself, I think, to practice painting on one layer. So for those of you guys out there who haven't tried that, I recommend that you guys try it because it's going to be challenging, but also I think it's freeing, don't you think?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Do you
Like
do
yeah,
that for actual work or just for your personal?
yeah, most of the time for work.
Okay, cool.
Because our job is a concept art. You just paint the
Yeah.
image and it's just a JPEG.
Yeah.
That's all they need.
Yeah.
Like once in a while though, like sometimes I'll need to like have some layers, but
Mm.
if I'm doing a piece where I know that we're gonna experiment and try, we're like searching for something.
Yeah.
Um, I'll definitely like keep the characters on a layer, keep the background in a
Yeah.
couple layers if I need, but still like minimal.
Yeah.
But that way it's just easier if I need to like make some huge changes
Yeah.
to some things.
Yeah, exactly. I do that for color keying as well. Like if you have the characters on a separate layer, that's always helpful. And
Mhm.
then to a certain point, it's helpful to separate the background, midground, and etc. But after, if there's changes to made, it's just like, oh, screw it, just merge everything and then make those changes because I will have a lot of layers. So it's easy to turn off if the director is like, oh, let's not add mist or let's change the power lighting to this. It's just like easy. I just select that, layer and then boop, change it to another color. And then that would be harder if I merged everything. But after a certain point, it's definitely easy to merge. Yeah,
Yeah. So I
for
think
sure.
after you work on a couple of projects, you can kind of like anticipate like, okay, I
Right.
might need to save a couple layers for this one.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. For sure. For sure.
on
I think,
the what?
oh no, keep going.
I was just gonna say, speaking of layers, on the first Spider-Verse movie,
Uh-huh.
um, I did like I did all this like graffiti stuff and I merged it and saved my file. Um,
Do you have that image?
yeah, it's on my ArtStation.
Can you
It's
pull it up maybe so people have a visual reference?
yeah. I'm telling this story because it's a lesson I learned.
Lessons are
So
always
maybe someone else they don't make the same mistake as me. Um,
very nice that you're sharing.
um so I designed all of these yeah, all of these train cars and I
Oh
did
no, did you merge the graffiti?
yeah, and they were like, "Oh, could you send us?" So I did even more than this. I did like tons of versions. Um, so if I just
Those are cool though. Can
kept
you
it
click on
as,
it?
can I make this bigger? Um, if I just kept this separate, sorry, I don't know why it's jumping around. There we go. If I kept it separate, they could have just taken this easily and then put it onto all the train cars. I would have made everyone's life easier. But
Yeah.
instead, they had to like cut it out, paint and fix things. So I made a lot of work for the texture department. But
Oh no.
I made the mistake once, and then now I always I keep like um a folder.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
if I do paint a texture, even if I merge things together, I just drag it into the folder
Yeah.
and I can keep it like I can keep it hidden.
Yeah. No, that's a really good that's a really good thing to remember. Yeah, that oh my gosh, if that happened. I'm trying to remember if something similar has happened. I don't think so. Um I mean, I have merged stuff, but yeah, that's definitely a good thing to remember. Like anything extra, like decorations, like turn it on and off as a layer. Have you ever done background paint?
Um mm, yeah, I guess so. The War is Over, that short film that I did.
Okay, yeah, you did some.
I
Okay,
we painted me and a couple other artists, we painted all the skies and mountains and um but yeah, we painted the clouds on different layers so then we could have
yeah.
like parallax and stuff.
Okay. Because I haven't done background painting yet, but I know from seeing, things being reviewed, like it's so important to have those on separate layers. Just another thing if people are wondering, because, for effects and everything. But yeah. Yeah, thanks for sharing that. That's so for personal work, you can merge everything. And then for work, better to have things on separate layers
Yeah,
just to be safe.
sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes. Yeah, sometimes. Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I guess going back to these images, is there anything else that we went on a little tangent, but that was cool.
Yeah.
Um, is there anything else? Let's see, we talked a bit about color and temperature, talked about the simplicity of composition, and then even separating those layers. Even if I were to look at how to, you know, build this up, because I don't know how you think about, I mean, I kind of know, but when I think of building a piece of work, I like to start from the masses. I think from big to small. Like I really think in terms of a funnel. So even in this, even though it looks like there's so much going on, um, I still bet that they were putting in blocks of color and then adding texture on top of it, and still
Yeah.
thinking big to small like that. So I think that's just something that I just wanted to, I get, maybe I could be wrong. Maybe she totally approaches this completely differently. But I think that's something important to remember, that even I think Edgar Payne says this, but even when you're adding detail, it shouldn't destroy the bigness of the design, and should still feel that overall design of the whole image. Yeah.
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 Like
Wait, what were you just
these,
doing?
as you were saying that, I was thinking, oh, she probably put in like some green, like underpaint. And
Ah,
then,
yes, yes.
because when I see those, I see these like big green, like triangles there.
Yeah.
And then all those, like within that green, all the texture and cool patterns
Yeah.
fit within those shapes.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And I guess I'm curious, how would you, going back to the first question, like how would you look at this, and do you extract certain elements from something like this and incorporate it in your own work? Because I find, and I think I got this from your brother actually. I remember listening to something he said, but it was like when you're doing a master study, you're doing, whatever, something. It's not. I think it's important to be specific with what you're studying, right? Or like what exactly you like about the painting, because then otherwise it could be super overwhelming. It's like, I like this painting. Okay, like what do you like about it? Do you like the atmosphere? Do you like the temperature shifts? Do you like the shapes, the subject matter? And being specific, I think really helps. So I'm curious, when you look at this, it's like, what specifically could you see yourself taking from this painting? Because I'm asking myself that too. Like if I were to be like, oh man, there's some aspects of texture, I guess the idea of texture and playfulness or something that I want to incorporate into my paintings. If I was really generic with myself, I would just be like, oh, screw it, I can't do it. Like, like it's too hard. It's not how my brain thinks or something. So I'm curious for you what that would be. Does that make sense even? What I
Yeah, like
asked? Okay.
I think you're asking like after looking at this, what what would what could I take and maybe apply to, and try something, build off of some of these ideas or
Yeah.
something. Um, I definitely want to try like cutting out things.
Okay. Cool.
Maybe erasing because I'm thinking digitally, like I could just
Right, right,
do like
right.
a an underpainting and then erase out, like have all this texture and then erase out like leaves and stuff. That might be cool.
Cool. I never thought of that. Yeah.
Um, and then obviously like some of these like really interesting textures and stuff.
That's really
Um,
cool. I like that idea of cutting out certain shapes. Because so often we think about adding and adding, right? So it's cool that you thought about it's like, oh, how can I add stuff, but then actually, cut out and then create like a silhouette with the white of your canvas or something like that. I don't know. Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, that could be cool.
What about you?
I think that's cool. I think for me, it's literally, there's something very, playful and organic about the use of texture that I think sometimes, I don't know how you feel about that, but for me, sometimes, probably because I don't play enough with brushes, but I find hard to mimic digitally. Like you have to find a brush or manipulate it. And I like I don't want to say night, it's not night, like the playfulness of some of these textures, like they're different and they look very organic and hand-drawn, and like actually drawing textures instead of making a stamp or something, you know what I mean? So I think that's something um I could take away, like even if it's literally like, I don't know, it looks like a gel pen on top of watercolor. I could, take a simple white brush, a hard brush, and take white and carve out these textures. I think, uh,
Do you paint with your non-dominant hand at all?
I should try that. I'm a lefty, but I don't do it
Yeah.
enough. I don't do it enough. So I should, you know what? We got homework to do, Zach. I still got to do the
Yeah.
first assignment, which I haven't done.
What was
Why?
that
Because
one?
I'm the Arkip Gunji one, and this would be a cool one as well to try. But I am storyboarding my own story, like you gave me feedback for. So I was working on that as well. So I think no, but that would be a really cool thing. I think that would be a really cool idea to draw with your non-dominant hand. I heard you talk about this somewhere because I know that it's like that lo loss of control gives you more freedom in a way. So yeah, I should try that. Uh,
Hmm.
really quick before we wrap up, this painting actually reminds me of a painting by Kwang Ho, like the use of textures. And I don't know if I can find it. I think it was like the way he handled this fall. I don't even know where I could find it. I'm gonna see if I have it in my folder, but I think I just hold on. I can't talk and do stuff at the same time.
While
Um,
you're looking for that, I'll just pull up Michelle's Instagram so you guys can
oh,
follow
for
her.
sure, that'd be great.
A lot of really cool stuff.
There's one piece that I'm thinking of with Kwang Ho that I don't know if I have saved. I think it was, okay, let me see. Oops. And this
Where do
is
you
why, sorry,
where do you save artwork that you like? In like
where?
folders in
Yeah, in
your desktop?
folders. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
yeah. I actually have to give a shout out to Justin. He's been amazing. He has helped me save a lot of stuff because he's way more organized than me. So he will name each painting. He will actually find the name of the painting. I just say whatever
Yeah.
it was, but he's created a lot of folders for me. So he's been amazing at that. But yeah, I have different folders of different artists, so it's easy to find them but sometimes I see them in different places and then I think this was in his latest exhibition. But it was like this makes me sad that I can't find it. But it was like this really uh oh, you know what? Hold on. I'm not sharing my screen, but I can
Oh, yeah, I can stop sharing. Do
no no oh okay.
you want me to or
Yeah, sure. I guess I can share my screen really quick. It's a little bit different. I think an Andrew Wyeth. It reminds me of an Andrew Wyeth painting as well. Oh, and I thought it would be cool if we did an Andrew Wyeth one too.
yeah.
Um, uh, 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 um, it's not this painting, but it's something like that very close value structure, but very subtle texture shifts. That I
Yeah.
thought was really cool. So it's definitely different application, different medium and everything, but I feel like kind of the sensibilities are kind of similar in a way. Again, this is not the painting I was thinking of. I
Mhm.
think it was a painting he did of Adrian in a forest or something. But
Yeah, I
man,
definitely see what you mean
yeah,
with
yeah,
the
yeah. You see what I mean? Yeah, yeah. So, I look at this, I'm like, it blows my mind. I'm like, how do you think of something so like it's so subtle? And I think that subtlety, and that's the same, with this one. I mean, maybe not this one, but the other ones we looked at her work. It's like this really this subtleness because this has more contrast, but it's almost abstract when you zoom in. It's literally textures, but you zoom out and it's like, oh, that's a tree. And then you like feel the branches. And I think very few, not very often is it, when I'm trying to drag something else inside. Oh, it's not letting me. Oh, it is letting me. Like I don't like I look at this and I think that part is so cool. Like, that those
Wow.
feathery textures. And then, like restraint right here, textures there. It has a lot of different textures, but it doesn't feel incohesive to me. I think that's really hard to pull off. And so I feel like they both kind of had those similar sensibilities in a way. And like in both of them, I can feel that crunch of the leaves. I think that's really rare. When you can like
Mhm.
taste the air and, feel like you're there. Yeah, I just think that's really cool.
Yeah. Yeah, if you can capture that kind of feeling, like you mentioned, like walking and hearing the sound of the leaves under your feet. Like if you
Yeah,
could
yeah,
capture
yeah,
that in a
yeah.
painting, that's it's pretty
Right?
incredible.
That's really incredible. I think that's what I'm trying. And I think I'm not successful, but I'm trying to play around with that. It's so hard. I think that's next level. I look at Kwang Ho's and, other people's stuff, and it's just like, wow. Like yeah, too bad it's so low res. I would like to stick my face in the actual oil painting, but hopefully y'all get what I mean. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
definitely.
yeah. But that was fun. I learned a new artist from you, Zach, and we got to look at a few paintings from her, which was really cool. Oh, look at that underdrawing. That's so cool.
Yeah.
And I think it's so cool to be exposed to all these different kinds of artists. So thank you so much for choosing her this week.
Yeah, can't wait
Get
to
people
see who
engaging.
you pick next week.
Yeah, there's so many. I mean, we talked about, yeah, we'll
Yeah,
see. We'll
don't
talk
give
about her.
anything away.
I
Be a
know, right?
surprise.
We have to keep them on their toes. If you
Yeah.
guys want anything, have any ideas, you guys can write in the comments. But we've got a lot of ideas ourselves too. So yeah. Thank you, Zach.
Yeah, thank you. That was awesome.
Bye guys.
Bye.